Years ago, I created and hosted a radio show called Positive Talk. This show was the passion of my life. Unfortunately, for many reasons, I had to give it up. Well, as time has gone by, I've realized that I really can't give up on my passion and need to continue somehow. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, the podcast. I hope you'll join me as we talk to some of the most interesting and real people on the planet, and their passion is to help each one of us be the best we can be. So I hope you'll join me right now on Positive Talk Radio. Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Positive Talk Radio, the podcast. This is a series of interviews that I conducted with Amy Satori. She is an intuitive spiritual teacher and healer. In this episode, we talk a little bit about Amy, her passion, and what it is that she does so well. I hope you enjoy it. And remember, you can go to www.amysatori.com to find out more about her work and what she does. And right now, here's my interview with Amy.
Well, my name is Amy Satori. I'm just a normal girl who has practiced working with my intuition because a number of different life circumstances and certain events that have happened, including an awakening or enlightenment experience, that have drawn me into a curiosity that brought me deeper and deeper in my spiritual journey and to subtler and subtler levels and being able to communicate with the unseen realm. And being able to do that has enabled me to help other people and to see things in their energy field and extract blockages for them that are keeping them from their greatest happiness. You know, I was thinking about something too. You know how my coworker had listened to the podcast and said, "Oh my gosh, you're like changing lives with confidence." I had actually taken it a different way. I thought, because I always tell people, like, they say, how do you do what you do? And like, people who are good at this are confident. And it's not a confidence it's not like a cocky kind of confidence. It's more of having experimented enough to know that, and gotten enough feedback to know that you have total faith in what you're seeing and hearing. So that's the confidence I thought he was referring to. Because of my own confidence, my own confidence in seeing what I see and hearing what I hear and all that. That's the confidence he was referring to, but he was actually saying, you're confidently changing lives. I guess either way you look at it is interesting, but I thought, yeah, that's true, because if I wasn't confident, it wouldn't be changing people's lives also. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's the difference between when I first started out and I learned all this Qigong stuff and I really didn't believe it, I really wasn't making a difference in anyone's lives. But when I, grew confident and I had faith to lend people, that's when I started to impact people.
Exactly.
Because they believed me, because they had confidence and faith in what I was saying, because there was that confidence behind it. So.
Well, and that
anyway.
is in the people that have done readings for me and stuff, confidence is the key. If somebody says, well, it could be, but I don't know, it could be just my imagination. That doesn't instill that doesn't really instill confidence. But if it's something that you feel confident about, let me give you an example. One time Kim Miller was on my show, and she was doing a reading for a guy, and she was saying, your grandmother this, and the guy was saying, oh yeah, that's exactly right, and everything is just as you described. And then at the end of the conversation, he says, I just want you to know that none of that's true. Everything that you just said is not true.
Even though he agreed with it the whole time?
Yes. And
wow.
So because what he was doing was setting her up.
Yeah.
he was setting her up to make her
Tricker.
to trick her and to prove that what she was doing was totally wrong. Well, I was sitting there in the chair, devastated, because I was like, what do you say now? And Kim was like real matter of fact. She said, "Well, okay," and and the response that she gave was that if you it is only true for you if you allow it to be. If you're closed to the process, nothing can happen for you because it is you are the one that is the important piece, not you, Amy, but the person that you're reading is the important piece. And if they don't believe, don't have confidence in you, don't
Mm-hmm.
aren't willing to listen to what you say, then whatever you say could very well be wrong. But the thing was, we had no idea because this guy was on the phone whether or not what Kim had said was right or wrong.
Right.
And this guy was just pulling an act. So, and I learned through that, and that's the confidence aspect. You have to have confidence that what you're saying and the feelings that you're getting, like John Edwards is another one. The feeling, or John Edward, the feeling that he gets is through many um, repeat performances of the same things, and just like
Mm-hmm.
you get the same things that now mean something.
Yeah, and I've had about 2 or 3 incidences in the last couple of weeks, similar to that, and I thought, okay, why is this coming up? And I think it's to prepare me. But I've learned something about the types of people who do that is they are in life while the person was still alive. They were very controlling of that person. So, like one of them, she asked me about her brother who had passed away. And then intuitively, I caught on that she was very protective of her brother. She was her brother's caretaker and boss and everything, confidant and, that sort of thing. So those are the types of people that say, no, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. But in truth, you may be seeing the truth, but they're not willing to look at it because they wanted to see the picture in a certain way. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. That's the
Or
way.
like you
Yeah.
said, yeah, and I explained the same thing to her. I said, look, I said, if you're not totally open to this process and you don't trust it, then I may read, and I don't know if it's reading somebody else or like that's trying to come through or what happens, but something happens in there where I'm seeing something and interpreting it, and I'm getting it right on my part, and it feels like it totally resonates. But on their part, they're insisting that no, it's not. So, and that hasn't happened to me, this whole time. So to go for all this time and not have this happen, and then all of a sudden it happens 3 times, it's like definitely teaching me how to react to it and the types of people they are. Because there was another woman who said that she had a son who was autistic, and the same thing happened when I was talking to her, and she goes, well, because I offered to actually come over and do it for free. And then she started, well, I'm very picky about who talks to my son, and I blah, 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 and I'll test you. I'll be asking you certain specific questions and blah, blah, blah. And I said, nope, then I'm not going to do it.
Good for you.
I said, you have to be in the right mindset and the right heart space in order to do this, and it doesn't feel like you're there. I said, but at some point where you do feel open, then I would be happy to do this for you. I said, but I am not going to come in and be tested. I'm not going to come in and be treated like, already like setting me up to fail something. I said, I don't like the energy of that and I won't do it.
Well, the very wise of you, because that's exactly what she was doing. Is she was trying to test you to see if you quote unquote were real. But
Mhm.
that's not how the process works. If you're not, if the person isn't open to it, then they're not going to receive anything from it.
Yeah. And then it's really amazing too, the ones that are totally open, how spot on everything is
Oh
and
yeah.
how amazing it is. And when you see the people start crying and say, oh my gosh, That's exactly what he would say, or, that type of stuff. So
It
it's like when
happens.
you've done that, 100 times and had that kind of incredible confirmation, and then one person comes out of the woodworks and does this, and you're just like, what the heck was that? It's so bizarre. It's like I was seeing the same types of images. I was getting the same types of feelings I always get. It's kind of like saying, okay, it's exactly like this. You go to get in your car every day, right? You go and get in and drive it, and you go to work or wherever you go. You go to the store. Sometimes it's like you get in the car and you go to work and whatnot, and you get there, and then everybody tells you once you're there, no, you took the bus to work. It's like, no, I took my car. No, nope, it was the bus. How do you know? It's like, but I did the same thing I do every day. I pushed on the gas. I remember getting in the car. There was, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like everything about it goes the same. So it's like, how is that wrong when 98% of everybody else, it's right? That same feeling tone and the same symbols and the same colors and everything you get. The only thing I can think of, the only thing that's different in my vibration is if I'm feeling tested, there's a contraction in my heart.
Well,
But
sure.
that's the only difference. But I can't imagine that contraction in my heart would make me skip over to a totally different train track and be talking to a whole different being as a result. So I don't know how that works. I would be really, really interested, in finding that out. It's fascinating.
Well, I think in working with you and with other people, if the individual is not open to the process, and so their heart is closed, and so their door is closed, they're
Mhm.
not going to receive. Now, you may still be getting from the other side, you may still be getting the thoughts, feelings, and words of that individual, but they're not open to receiving it. And so they're not thinking about what it could be, or the relationship they had with this person is different than they think they had with this person.
Right. Yes, yes.
And
It's like the other person's perspective, not theirs.
well, yeah, because that's the from what I understand, and you tell me because you've talked to folks on the other side, they're now they're higher self, and they may not be have the same guck, for lack of a better word, around them than like we do when we're down here. And so they are in their a little bit higher self, and they're a little bit more evolved. And so when people when you tell people what they of what messages you're getting, it may be of a higher level than the message that they think that they should be getting, or it may be that they
Yes.
have a completely different viewpoint of that individual and remembrances. Remember, think about people that you've known in the past and how you remember them. Well, how
Mhm.
you remember them is not necessarily who they really were. That's how
Yes,
you remember them.
exactly. Yeah.
And so if I were you, I think your confidence is key, and just keep doing what you're doing, because everything that I've when you read me, you were absolutely dead right, and
That's awesome. Yeah.
it was like you were in my room and you were talking to me and reading a chart. So it was so you have the well, of course I'm one of your biggest fans. Haven't I told you this for like 15 years?
Well, and I was really doubtful before, but now I am really confident.
Well, I know
So I think
but it's a
it,
process.
it is. And it's funny because my coworker, when he said that the other day about confidence, I said, my friend Kevin, he's like, why are you so modest? And I said, because I'm not I'm not somebody special. I'm somebody who is practiced. That's all. My life has gone this direction, and I've had a lot of things that have led me to be interested in this and to enhance my abilities and all that stuff because I wanted to. It's obviously a part of my life path. And I actually have been told that I have something called a qigong gift that people are kind of like born with or they're not, and that's just what I was told by the spirit realm once by a woman who knew nothing about qigong. A little Chinese guy came through, one of my masters, and he said, He said, she has special Qigong gifts. Tell her. And I didn't know what that was, and I actually had to do some research on it. And it turned out that I had just received a book in the mail that I hadn't read yet, and started to look through it. It was a Qigong book, or traditional Chinese medicine, but it talked about Qigong. And it actually talked about that Qigong gift in there. And I went, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So, but still, I think that there are, I just want people to feel like empowered that they can do this themselves. That's all. I just want them to feel like, if I'm interested in this, then I'm going to look into how I can listen to spirits myself, how I can practice my own intuition and my own intuitive abilities and skills and whatnot, because I think that's where we're all going. I think we're all going to become telepathic, and so I'm just here to aid in that.
Well, and I agree with you, because we are actually all telepathic. And, it's interesting. The difference is, for someone like you, is that you're willing to put yourself out there. And even though you have in the past lacked a little confidence, you still put yourself out there. And a lot of people who get intuition hits, they knew this was going to happen, and then it happens. They knew the phone was going to ring, then it rings. A song comes on the radio that means something special to them. That happens all the time to all of us. But you're willing to take it to the next level and be able to work with it and understand it, and then you believe it, because you have to believe it before anybody else can believe it. So
exactly.
when you believe it, when you get a hit, and you can say that is what's true, or that's what's true for this person who's coming through me to talk to you, then it's not a matter of you're not questioning yourself whether or not it's your imagination or whether it's them coming through.
Yeah. Right.
Because it's very subtle.
You're right. That is yes. Yes, exactly. And that exactly describes what I used to be versus what I am now.
Right.
Because before, I'd be like, am I just imagining this? I don't know yet. Now I'm like, okay, something's coming through. Everybody stop for a second. I need to listen.
Oh, exactly.
Really subtle things come to the forefront, and everything has to stop for a moment, because I know something, it's like I really want to help the spirit world come through strong, and I want them to the more they're believed in, the more powerful they get, and the more of an impact they're able to make. But people have to listen, So
you just said the key. People have to listen, because what people do is they disregard their own intuitive abilities. That's not true. That can't happen. That's not it. It's so, like, if you get a hit, a lot of people will just totally ignore it. And the first step for me is, when I get one of those hits. I'll give you an example. When I'm getting ready to leave for work, and I think to myself, "Did you do this?" And it's just a thought that pops into my head. I used to say, I'll leave it alone. And now it's like, well, maybe I better check it out, because somebody's giving me a message. Somebody's telling me something. And that's the first step, in my opinion, to being able to access your gifts, which we all have, is to listen to what's happening in your head, what's happening to yourself, and recognize the difference between an imaginary thought that you might have and something that pops. See, for me, if it just pops into my head out of nowhere, it's coming from somewhere.
Well, and like, I just had a recent example too, where one of my friends is very intuitive, and she doesn't own it at all. But it's like, along those lines of everything becoming really synchronistic, serendipitous. It's like, I'll hear a cardinal or somebody. I'll be on the phone with somebody, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, a cardinal just flew right in front of me. Oh my gosh, there's two of them." And, the normal person says, "Oh, how cool, that's really neat," and ignore it and keep going. And for me, I take note of the cardinal, and then I'll say, okay, that happened, and it happened for a reason. It didn't happen by accident that I happened to be on the phone with her at that time, in that moment that 2 cardinals went by and whatnot. So I might make a little mental note. Okay, no big deal. So then I go onto my computer and I'm looking at Doreen Virtue's website or something like that, and then she says, by the way, cardinals mean everything is in divine timing, perfect timing. Okay, so then I went, oh, okay, because I had always heard cardinals deliver messages and things. So sometimes when I see a cardinal personally, I'll ask them, what are you trying to tell me today? But since this was through my friend, I thought, okay, there's something about our relationship, that happened. So I texted her, and she said she jumped out of her skin because it was absolute perfect timing. She was just talking to her dog, and she said something about, hey, girl, are you seeing fairies or something like that, And she said the text went off right at that moment as if it was answering her. And then my text said everything is in perfect divine timing. It just was like, oh, my gosh. So, so then she calls me. She goes, what was that about? And I said, I ran across this thing that actually talked about cardinals and how they're about divine timing. And she just said, it just never ceases to blow my mind, the timing of everything, And she goes, I seriously was about to have a heart attack. The phone going off right at that exact moment, So it's so funny.
Well, see, and that's what in our last podcast that you were talking about, the fact that we have a group of people around us at all times. Well, that's just being orchestrated by those guys, and they're helping. And in your case, they're helping you feel more confident, because confidence is the key for you to do what you want to do and what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're not confident about how people can do this and stuff, then you can't lead people. And confidence, have you ever heard the expression of confidence? A confident leader is a successful leader.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you can't get people to follow you because of you're not confident in what's going to happen, then they're not going to. Then it's not going to work out very well. So confidence is the key.
What it reminds me of? It's like, for a lot of people, life is like a haunted house. It's like, what scary thing lingers around the corner? What door am I going to open and something's going to pop out and kill me, or try to, or scream? So who do you want to follow when you go into a haunted house? Do you want to be the one in the front, or do you want to be the one who's following somebody who's got a big sword in their hand and says, don't worry about a thing. I've got your back, and I've got you, So it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, in that, it's like I know the boogeyman and all that it either doesn't exist, or I know how to deal with it if it does. I have it all in perspective in such a way that I know that if something pops out of the closet, I know exactly how to deal with it. So nothing's going to throw me off or make me go, oh my gosh, we're all going to die.
Well, and that's
so of course you're going to follow that person,
Of course. You want to follow a strong, and especially when you're talking about the subject matter that you are, about delving into the other side. And people are very, very confused and scared about the other side and what's over there and what happens when we die and all of that. And when you come across, very confidently, very calm, and just telling it like it is, you take the scariness out of it.
Yeah, it really is very reassuring. And, this gal that I just talked to the other day, she thought that she'd seen something when she was younger, and it always played with her head. And she was always kind of scared of the unknown as a result. And I just made her feel totally at ease with what she'd seen. I said, yes, you did see that. That's exactly what you saw. And she goes, I did? I said, yeah. And she was like, oh, my gosh, And it was just like such a relief for her. She's like, And I said,
I'm not crazy after all.
Ourselves. Yeah, and I do think we all are leading up to a point that we're all leaders, that we're all listening to our higher selves, that we're all totally connected. It's like, Matt Kahn talks about how we become our own guide. We don't need these spirit guides anymore. We're one with them. We're just totally conscious, and we're leading ourselves. And that way we're not even scared, and we don't view life as a haunted house anymore. We're not scared about what's coming around the corner, because whatever it is, we'll probably end up cracking up about it,
Yep. Yep. And that is the evolution that we are, as spiritual beings, are on. Whether or not this
Yeah.
physical body can make it long enough or this planet can make it long enough is pretty much irrelevant, because we still are spiritual beings on a path to grow to become more enlightened.
Yeah.
And it may take
Yeah.
10 years, it may take 1,000 years, it may take 100,000 years, but time is irrelevant. It doesn't matter, because we continue to exist and we continue to grow.
Yeah.
The tough part,
It's a beautiful thing.
yeah, well, the tough part, and maybe you can help me with this and then I gotta go, but the tough part is, how do you convince people that that's true, that we are actual spiritual beings on an extended path? How do you convince people? What evidence can you show them? Because a lot of people that are in their human brain and are not willing to look at evidence outside of that. How? And I think that's part of the dilemma that you're having, is how do you convince somebody that that's true?
Um, there are a couple different things. For one, when things are going kind of synchronistically and magically in your life, you feel incredible, don't you?
Oh, sure.
I mean, when everything is easy, isn't that much easier? And doesn't that just feel so much better? And doesn't that just kind of more align with who you are when that happens? And sometimes you kind of feel silly for doubting the whole thing. It's kind that's one of them. That's one of the things. It's how you feel is really an indicator of um it's really an indicator of whether you're aligned or not, of course. But it's like when you feel awful, it's designed that way to make you turn the other way. It's like you feel bad, you feel bad, you feel bad. Oh, I look toward a sunset and that's gorgeous. And then it makes your heart swell, and then that's an indicator. The other thing is I like to share my experience of enlightenment with people, because that one kind of blows people away. And that, I believe, that experience I went through is really our true nature, and it's really who we truly are.
I agree with
And
that.
also, I think that the more that you did you watch my video with Ventino?
Yes.
Where I was telling you, okay. So that really helps people to see a big picture too, and then also the when you start to see how the unseen side or the unseen realm is always communicating with us, and how they're giving us all these signs, and how we can, like, I recently was doing an experiment with fairies because I wasn't sure, like, are they myths? Are they real? I was kind of on the fence, and I was pretty sure they were real to an extent, but still, I really want to be confident. So I set out some chocolate and made a request of a fairy, and I put it out in a spot where nothing could get to it, that nothing could reach it, nothing would want it. It's a piece of chocolate, and it was probably about 3/4 of an inch all the way around, a square. And I set it in a little nook in a tree branch, and Doreen Virtue had said, if you make a request of a fairy, it's nice to leave them something and give them about 2 or 3 days to fulfill the request. Well, I asked them if they would help me find a video of Neo watching fairies, because I thought it was the coolest video, and I thought I had accidentally deleted it. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I said, fairies, could you please, it was out in nature, and I went up to this tree, and I just said, fairies, could you please help me find that video? It was just such a cool video, and I'm so disheartened it got lost or deleted or whatnot. And so I set this piece of chocolate in the tree, left, went back to the next day. It was still there. And my friend was asking every day, is it gone? Is it still there? What's happening? And then the second day, I found not only that video of Neo, but like 2 or 3 others. I was so excited. I could have cried. I thought, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This is so incredible. And so I had my friend on the phone. I said, you won't believe I just stumbled across these videos. They were in this really crazy place I never would have found. And then she goes, go, quick, check the chocolate. And I said, yeah. And I went running out back and flipped on the back patio light. The chocolate was gone. And those are the types of, those are the types of things that happen over and over and over and over that you realize there's so much more. There's so much more than just your job and your car and your kids and all of that,
By the way, we've been talking with Amy Satori. You can go to amysatori.com or www.amysatori.com, and you can find out more about the incredible work that she does and who this fine young woman is, and her blog. That's what it is. I don't know why they call it a blog, but anyway, and find out more about her.
Well, there you have it. Another episode with Amy Satori. Again, if you'd like to find out more about Amy, go to www.amysatori.com. We're going to continue talking with her on a wide range of topics and subjects that she's very, very versed in, including some of the healing work that she does, as well as some of the spiritual teachings that she is getting directly from the other side. So I hope that you'll continue to listen to this podcast and enjoy the conversations that we have with Amy, as well as other people that are doing some incredible work. If you want to find out more about me, go to www.thepositivetalkradioshow.com to learn more about what I do and this show and how things have evolved for me. And they can also evolve for you if you choose to let it in. So with that, I'd like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and please stay tuned for more. We'll be back very soon. And you can go to www.thepositivetalkradioshow.podbean.com to look at all of the shows, including some of from the original Positive Talk Radio, which was heard on KKNW 1150 AM in Seattle. Some of them are just extraordinary, and I hope you'll take the time to listen to them because they can really be upbeat and be very positive, if you know what I mean. So I hope you'll stay with me and listen to more as we evolve this project, hopefully into something that you will tell your friends about and you'll listen on a regular basis. Again, my name is Kevin McDonald, and this is Positive Talk Radio, the podcast.
Listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom on a mountain and the valley far below. On the mountain was the treasure buried deep beneath the stone, and the valley people swore they'd have it for their very own. Go ahead and hate your neighbor. Go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven. You can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day on the bloody morning after. One tin soldier rides away. So the people of the valley sent a message up the hill, asking for the buried treasure, tons of gold for which they'd kill. Came an answer from the kingdom, with our brothers we will share all the secrets of our mountain, all the riches buried there. Now the valley cried with anger, mount your horses, draw your sword, and they killed the mountain people, so they won their just reward. Now they stood beside the treasure on the mountain, dark and red, turned the stone and looked beneath it, peace on earth rides away.